Tonze, he will in fact have to serve his prison time, and thereafter he will in fact also be deported back to Zimbabwe.
Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time. Women who lead, women who lift, women who inspire. African woman. This is Women's Month on Channel Africa.
20 after 5 right here on Channel Africa. Welcome to it. It is the last hour of The Upside with Poppy and Ntsako, and the final conversation this afternoon is of course about women and how women are transforming and dominating industries that were once considered off limits for women. Joining us in this roundtable discussion at Channel Africa 1, our guests are this afternoon Naledi and Androva Matutoane, who's a gamer and software engineer. Welcome to The Upside, ma'am. Amalia, Hendricks, CEO and managing consultant, as well as Simwaka, professional boxer. She's in the house. And Bugelwa Mango, founder and managing director of Old Boys Club PR agency. Let's get into the conversation, ladies.
Welcome. Hi, ladies. Welcome. So let's perhaps start the conversation by talking about how you entered your particular industry. Because some of the industries represented that you currently represent were either, male dominated then and now, or maybe you kind of flipped the script on them. So let's start perhaps with our girl who is joining us, Naledi. Please let us know how you joined this industry.
Quite by chance, to be honest with you. Software development especially. I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school and happened to get into a free program called We Think Code, and that opened doors for me. And through that, I met a bunch of friends who are gamers and started watching some streamers on a platform called Twitch where people live stream their games. Saw there weren't many women, specifically in South Africa, who streamed, and I thought, well, maybe I can be a part of rectifying that.
Oh, great story. Amalia, chat to us about your industry and how you got things started.
So I'm in leadership development, and I have always been in various industries from arts to sports. I believe in diversity of experience, having a textured life. So I'm currently serving on a board in manufacturing, and I'm also here representing women on boards. As a board member.
Powerful work you're doing.
And Bukelwa, can you tell us how you got into the industry?
Yes, so I own a PR agency called Old Boys Club PR. I've always been a storyteller. I've always loved reading and I also grew up in a very exciting time in South Africa. The national agenda was captured by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So I was always so taken by surprise and taken aback by the power of justice and the role that storytelling has to play in all of that. And that drove me to study journalism. And then I cut my teeth in the PR world in 2011, and I haven't looked back since.
Fantastic stuff. Maybe let's chat about some of the challenges and restrictions that you may have faced going into the industry. I remember when we started on radio many moons ago, it was almost like at the inception of women on radio, and even our management and people just around us used to tell us that people don't like hearing women's voices on the radio. Fast forward 25 years later, almost all the top radio stations have women either on breakfast or drive. So I'm just curious to understand what some of those, narratives were when you guys were going into your various industries. Naledi, you can start.
First.
Sure.
Sorry. I found in my industry, it's always been women have had to fight to be heard, fight to have their voice recognized. I think now there's been so much work done on not only women's liberation per se, but also just the space and the place that we hold, So there's less about fighting to be heard and more about just being authentic, just showing up and being you in all of your femininity,
And
That's my experience.
thank you so much for that, Amalia. I wanted to come to backing off of what you just said now, Amalia. Naledi, did you ever feel like you had to change your personality? Because when I think about the streamers, with the guys, they're very hype and, they're doing all sorts of kind of boys stuff, right? So you being a gamer, you stepping into the streaming world, did you ever feel like you had to change a part of yourself to fit the narrative?
To an extent, yes. I think it's something every woman who starts out in content creation in a male-dominated field will experience. You kind of feel the need to become one of the boys, if I can put it that way, to fit in and to make friends and to be accepted. It feels like a canon event. Like every woman will go through it, and at some point you realize it's not worth it, losing bits of yourself to try and fit into a space where you need to be grafting your own space.
Bukelo, let's come to you because you started a top PR agency and then you called it Old Boys Club. Have to respect the audacity there. Absolutely love it. What was your experience like? I'm sure not necessarily unique, but you did the work just by, calling it the Old Boys Club.
Yeah, and I think when you are trying to redefine something, especially a system, because the Old Boys Club has been a reality for many of us, whichever industry you're in.
Sure.
For a very long time. And what I wanted to show was, when you think about what an Old Boys Club is, you think about restriction. We see the same faces, we hear the same names, the same people get the same opportunity. And I wanted to claim that name back and to give it a different definition. And I thought it would be quite cute to have a woman of color as well at the helm of this Old Boys Club. And that for me, it's a bigger thing. It's representation. For the women who I hire to have a seat at this Old Boys, already that's rewiring something in their minds. But it's also showing the industry and the world that it was never about gender. Gender was supposed to be part of the conversation. It was always and should have always been about capabilities. And capabilities doesn't see gender. And that's where the conversation needs to go. We've done great work and we're halfway there. There's still a lot to go. We've worked hard to make sure that women gain access into the rooms. Now they are in the rooms. Now we need to help them become competent to take ownership. I think that's where the real economic impact takes place. And my industry is a strange one like that, because when it's presented to you, it seems like it's, you throw your events, it's a relationship building space. But when you look at it deeply, the clients that we deal with are the males that are operating within the male dominated spaces. And it takes some kind of soft skills and hard skills to be able to manage that. So the industry has changed significantly from the beginning, but we do have a very, very long way to go.
On that note of competence, Amalia, I want to bring you in. Did you, one, have to feel like you have to prove your competence for leadership? And also sitting on a board, I find that even the most competent still have to prove themselves and have to justify why they're sitting there. So I'm hoping as well, even the board that you're currently in is not just placing you there for the sake of numbers and diversity during, the photo moments, but how is that displayed on a regular basis in those meetings?
That's a great question, but I'm going to flip it around a little bit. I want to say that I've always been, when I've been invited either to sit on a board or in any space, it was because of my confidence and because of my competence. And by that competence, I was automatically confident. And I say this tongue in cheek and with a lot of humility. I never needed to prove. I always had a sense of self that I don't need to prove anything. I am who I am. I know what I do. I do well. I take pride in my work, and I'm unapologetic. I am who I am. And so I think that is half the battle won. Then you can focus on getting the job done instead of too much effort and energy on, do I belong in this room? have I earned my place here and all of that? No, man, just own it. That's my take.
Naledi, Androva, let's come to you just before we wrap up before past. We're going to continue for another section, but I just want to ask you what people are saying to you now that you've cemented your personality, your identity, and your career in this space. How are the other people around you, not necessarily in the gaming space, affirming where you are in your career?
I think a big part of my support system has to be my family, so mainly my parents and then also friends. And I think that's so important because that's where our morals and values come from initially, right? Our parents start us there. And I come from a family that's very matriarchal. My moms, my grandmothers, my aunts, they were all the strong, stalwart forces in the family. And I think they just remind me of that every day. Like, people are going to look at the color of your skin, they're going to look at the fact that you're a woman, and they're going to want to put you down as a result of it. But you've earned the space where you are in now. You've put in the hard work to get there. Just remember that.
It is 5:30 right here on Channel Africa. We're going to continue this conversation. We just need to go to sports and econ news right now on the upside. Zycon, give us what's happening in the sports world.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, ladies. From the boardroom to the locker room, we have got women proving one thing: there's no seat at the table. They'll bring their own. And this is exactly what South Africa's women's team are hoping to do. And they want to secure that qualification. Now, after they were eliminated from the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations following a 2-1 quarterfinal defeat to host, they do need World Cup qualification. Their player Cabo Zita believes Banyana should make changes to the starting lineup with fresh legs needed to add height and pace attack when they face Nigeria in the playoffs tonight, 10 p.m. Central African time.
I think Mutau, if she can be given the chance, and Machia also for Tesane, and put Ludik there, because we saw that chance that they gave to her to start the game. She really did good. The chasing, which is what we need, the chasing, because Tembi can be chasing alone up front and win the ball, and then no support, And Dudley, I think also she can also, the height will work for us. Ludik will work for us.
There's also more action tonight where Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana will battle for one final chance to keep their FIFA Women's World Cup dreams alive when they meet in the CAF Women's Africa Cup of Nations classification playoff in Casablanca this evening. Now, both nations narrowly missed automatic qualification after their quarterfinal defeats and now face a winner-takes-all encounter for a place in the Interconfederation playoffs. Cote d'Ivoire are chasing a return to the World Cup for the first time since 2015, while Ghana, they're hoping to end a 20-year absence from the global showpiece, having last qualified in 2007. On to cricket, and the South African national team coach Shukri Conrad says Dwayne Jansen has been one of the most impressive players on the domestic cricket front and has subsequently earned a maiden call-up to the national team. Jansen, the twin brother of another Protea, Marco Jansen, was included in the squad to tour Namibia later this month for the T20 Tri-Series, including Zimbabwe, as well as the subsequent ODI series against the host in Windhoek. Conrad says Jansen can add to their pool of all-rounders.
Look, obviously, we're constantly looking at at the guys that are doing well at domestic level. And especially when it comes to building a base of all-rounders, especially. I mean, I'm not infatuated with all-rounders, but I think the more quality all-rounders we have at our disposal, the better, and Duan did particularly well in across all formats.
More cricket. Jordan Herman, whose older brother Ruben Herman is also part of the squad, also gets another chance after getting injured on the tour of New Zealand earlier this year. Conrad says the aim is to get fringe players internationally active for when their chance comes in the bigger tours.
I think the more caps we can build, or the more caps we can get in and amongst our younger players, when they step up, in a big series, and I say this with utmost respect to the Zim and Namibia series, but when they step up to a big series, then it's always nice having 10 or 12 caps behind your name before you take that big step up. So I think Jordan's got a bright future across all formats. And yeah, I think this is the first step in that direction.
And finally, motorsport. Mercedes rookie Kimi Antonelli is on track to become Formula One's youngest ever world champion, holding a 50-point lead over Ferrari's Lewis Hamilton at the break. The 19-year-old Italian has stunned the paddock with 6 wins from the 11 races. Despite setbacks in Barcelona and Silverstone, his advantage makes him the clear favourite heading into the Dutch Grand Prix later this month. Antonelli faces pressure to close out his maiden title bid, with Mercedes' early dominance fading as Ferrari and McLaren combined to win 3 of the last 5 races. And that's where we leave it for now in the fast lane. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I'm Zai Khan.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Channel Africa is evolving, and so are you. Stay connected wherever you are with our brand new website and mobile app. Stream your favorite shows, catch up on African news, culture, and conversations, all at your fingertips.
Africa is just a tap away.
Your world, your stories, now on the go.
Stay connected wherever you are.
Visit channelafrica.co.za or download the Channel Africa app today. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
And that's a wrap of your sport on Channel Africa with Zycon. She'll be back tomorrow for the Friday edition of The Upside, right here between 3 and 6. Let's get a final wrap of your econ and business news now. Chanduko Ligeke is on standby.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Poppy and Ntsako. Good afternoon. Uganda's central bank has kept its key lending rate unchanged at 9.75% for an 8th consecutive policy meeting. The Bank of Uganda says higher oil prices have not yet triggered broader inflationary pressures. Headline inflation rose to 4% in July from 3.7% in June. Governor Michael Atingi Ego says the economy remains resilient, with growth expected to accelerate to between 7 and 7.5% this financial year from an estimated 6.4% last year. Ghanaian cocoa farmers are urging President John Dramani Mahama not to sign a new law restricting how they use their land until they are properly consulted. The Ghana Cocoa Board bill gives cocoa farmers or farms protected status and requires approval from Cocoa Board before farmers can convert them to other uses. The law aims to curb the loss of cocoa land to mining and other crops amid declining production in Ghana. Farmers support protecting cocoa farms but say they need clarity on what happens to unproductive or diseased farms where replacing cocoa with other crops may be necessary to earn an income. Also in the news, Labour Federation, Congress of South African Trade Unions, COSATU, says the possible enactment of the Employment Services Amendment Bill, which is now before Parliament, should not spell the undermining of rights of migrant workers and also avoid fueling xenophobia. Government is proposing through the bill measures to regulate the employment of migrant workers and prioritize unemployed South Africans for jobs. COSATU's parliamentary coordinator, Matthew Sparks.
It's been coming for a while, so it wasn't drafted in response to the recent issues. But the challenges of migration haven't also just started this year. They've been around for years and years. We discussed and engaged upon this bill in I think 2023, so that's about 3 years ago. Unfortunately, government moves at time very, very slowly. It's now before Parliament, and basically the objective is to say we have a very high unemployment rate of about 43%. We need to prioritize South Africans for employment, especially young people. We're trying to find a way to address what we've seen a real increase in the past decade, 2 decades, where we often find employers rush to hire undocumented migrant labor.
South Africa's Tourism Minister, Patricia de Lille, says the country needs to make domestic travel more affordable as the cost of living puts pressure on households. Speaking at the launch of the Tourism Month in Durban, de Lille says domestic tourism remains the bedrock of the sector. She says government already has plans in place to grow tourism, but a lack of implementation and reluctance to act are holding the sector back.
And before we speak about millions of international arrivals, we must speak to our own people about taking a weekend away in our own country. It's your country. Come and enjoy your country. Because when every South African travel in our country, it's a contribution to our economy.
Financial indicators this hour: $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 361, in Botswana 13 pula 33, Kenya it's 128 shilling 39, in Zambia 18 kwacha 75. BRICS countries: $1 in Brazil at 5 real 16, in Russia 82 rubles 72, India 95 rupee 37, China 6 yuan 74, South Africa 16 rand 15. $1 is at 74 pence to the British pound and 86 to the euro. Commodities: gold at $4,381, platinum at $1,719 per ounce, the price of Brent crude oil at $86.60 a barrel. That's all from me. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 1171444459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Before they were leaders, they were simply women who refused to accept that they didn't have a voice.
When an African woman has been put under pressure, when she's been socialized into a certain space and she is being that woman, that doesn't mean that's all there is to her.
They carried an entire continent of women through voices that hummed and ululated, healed and nurtured, and voices that preserved culture and impacted wisdom. In their voices, we heard how beautiful Africa could be. This Women's Month, we celebrate the voices who came before. We stand tall and speak louder because you did. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Good news travels. Stream The Upside on our YouTube, X, Facebook, and on our website, channelafrica.co.za.
18 minutes to 6 p.m. CAT. This is Channel Africa, and we're continuing our Women's Day conversations and roundtables right here on The Upside. If you've just logged in at Channel Africa 1, we are chatting about how women are transforming and dominating industries that were traditionally off limits. Our guest this afternoon on Channel Africa, Naledi Androva, Matutoane, who's a gamer and software engineer, Amalia Hendricks, who's CEO and also managing consultant in leadership, Ellen Simwaka is with us now, a professional boxer joining us on The Upside, and of course PR maven and founder Bukelwa Monqo. I'm going to start this section with Ellen, because you play a sport that was only for the longest time played by men, as with many sporting codes. Chat to us about perhaps how your industry is now making it more inclusive for the younger generation of women that are coming up. Hello, Ellen. Ellen, don't do this to us.
Oh, Ellen, you're going to knock us out, girl.
Maybe let's come to Bukelwa as a PR practitioner and just, someone as a leader in that industry. How is the industry now evolving and has evolved to make it more accommodating for young women? Because I think that that's also where we have to be at this point in time. Oh, no.
We're going to continue.
Ellen, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Finally, Christmas. Welcome to the... Oh, who is this? Bukelwa.
Yes.
Did you hear my question, ma'am?
Please repeat it. I lost you there for a second.
I was saying, in your industry in particular, how are we making things more accommodating for the younger women that are coming into the industry?
Look, I think we've done a good job in making sure that we sell the industry to women across the board. So from your high school, and at the time when I was in high school, I didn't realize that I could turn my storytelling into, I could monetize it, you know. So that visibility for the industry has significantly changed. I think what I would like us to shift our conversation and our focus on now is, now that we've ticked the box for access, are we making sure that we are betting on the bright talent that is not within the conventional spaces where we normally look for the talent? So, you know, just like in high schools, you've got your private schools, in the tertiary level as well. Privilege gets you quite far.
Sure.
And privilege gets you access and it gets you seen. And that's not really the case for a lot of women, especially women of color. And that is what I'm really, really passionate about. How do we find her where she is? Because I know that she can't see me or hear me, especially when she's looking for opportunity. And it's really looking at, I think between the hustle and bustle and the navigating that ladder that we have to climb up, we forget to look back. We forget that we need to sometimes just leave the door a little bit wider than we found it. We forget to go back to our communities and to look at that girl next door. You know, what can I do? It can even be something as small as sharing information with her that she wouldn't necessarily have access to, mentioning women's names in rooms where they are unable to set foot in just yet. So the industry is open, okay, but that's half the job done. There's still a lot more to do. And we, as the women who have made it, who have entered the rooms, we need to become a little bit intentional about the role we play for the women who are coming behind us.
Amalia, on that note, I mean, you're in the rooms, you're on the boards. What do you think we should be doing as well? I think there's a responsibility on Bukelwa, Naledi, Ellen, and Amalia's side, but to us, you know, the women that are coming up, that are coming into these rooms, what is our responsibility? What would you like to see when we take up that seat?
I think first of all is to understand that there is a generational difference, because we do struggle with that sometimes. The younger ladies are misunderstanding the senior ladies and vice versa. And I think you find that, especially in corporate spaces. But I think for the younger women is to show up with an openness and a willingness to learn. There's a lot to learn. I have a growth mindset, and I'm very big on encouraging others to be open to learn. And I think I know it sounds cliche, but your attitude determines your altitude, right? That's what I would say for the younger folks. And I would also say, if in a very encouraging note, that like an organization like Women on Boards, they exist to help women to thrive and to arrive in boardrooms. We prepare them. We do the soft skills. We do, leadership skills. Coaching is available. We do master classes every month and events. In fact, we have an event coming up on Saturday in Parktown, and really, it's a development networking opportunity. So do come. There's a lot happening out there, is what I mean to say.
Always a lot happening. Ellen, let's come to you as a professional boxer. What is the boxing scene looking like for young women? Now that you've been there for as long as you have, what can we look forward to as, sports lovers and us wanting to see more women in boxing?
Thank you so much, Africa Newsroom, for having me. I am so grateful for recognizing women in Africa. So what I can say is, as women in sports, like for the younger upcoming generation, I think we are, clearing the path for the younger ones so they can, have, the validation in the sport, because it's like way back when we started boxing and now I can see there's a lot of change. Like it's much better. We are being recognized, which is a good thing, for the sports women.
Thank you, Ellen, for knocking that one out of the park. No, we can hear you. We wanted to bring it back to a particular sport, e-sport, where Naledi kind of, it's Naledi's playground there. I was stalking you, Naledi, on your page just now, and I like the reference to not just your average white boy throwing a tantrum. I find that enjoyable. How are you bringing more women into the world of streaming and the digital space, particularly e-gaming as well?
I think what I have done over the last year and a bit maybe can be considered lax. I haven't been as out there as I've tried to be, but I have a friend, also a woman of color, who I run a podcast with, and a lot of what we cover on the podcast is issues and struggles that women and people of color within the content creation scene and gaming scene specifically here in South Africa will face.
Sure.
She often runs a Women's Day tournament that's been going for the last 3 years.
Wow.
And what we like to do with that is just put a highlight on the fact that there are women who play games and play them well as well.
Good stuff. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us on Channel Africa this afternoon. What an incredible, insightful conversation. Naledi, Androva, Matutoane, Amalia Hendricks, Ellen Simwaka, and Bugelwa Mongo on Channel Africa.
Thank you for having us.
Ritmos e cultura. Com Jaco